Day. My name is Carissa Finley, and I am the brand president of Class 101. Very excited to have you guys with us for our back to school webinar. As you guys know, it's an exciting time of year, and we are so glad to have you with us as we dive into the essential tips and strategies to help students in honestly every grade level get on track for college planning success this academic year. So look, whether your student is a freshman just starting their high school journey, or a senior gearing up for college applications, or somewhere in between, we have tonight some really valuable insights to share that will help you navigate each step with a lot of confidence. So speaking of freshmen, seniors, and everywhere in between, I want to kick off a poll to get an idea of who's joining us tonight. So if you are a student or you are a parent of a student, I'm going to put up a little poll so that we can see what grade you're in and what you're joining us. So what year is your student? This poll is going to launch on your screen, and you can go in and go ahead and vote. Good. I see some answers coming in. So we've got 8th grader, freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. Fantastic. Lots of answers coming in. Thanks, you guys. All right, I'll give you just about 15 more seconds. Okay, it looks like a lot of us have answered. I see some final submissions. All right, thanks everybody. Let me go ahead and share just so that we can see. So we've got, it looks like 53% of juniors, a great time to really be thinking about college planning, but about 16% of us are 8th graders or freshmen, 16% are also sophomores, and 16%, it's a theme, are seniors. So we've got mostly juniors, and then we're spread out across. So that's fantastic. We're so glad that you guys are here. It doesn't matter because what grade you're in, because today we're going to talk through some specific advice that's tailored to each one of those grade levels. We're going to address some common challenges. We're going to offer some actionable tips, and we're going to provide some resources that can make this academic year productive and successful for both students and parents. So I encourage you to grab a pen and a piece of paper, open up your notes app, whatever it is, because you're going to want to jot down some of these takeaways that we share. Let's get started this school year as the best one yet to ensure that you're on the path for college and beyond. Yes? Are we ready? So before we get started, we are going to be taking questions throughout. So if you see at the bottom, there's two things. There's a chat, and then there is one that's called the Q&A. I encourage you throughout, anytime a question comes up, please jump into the Q&A and type out your questions for myself or for our presenters. So we will take some time towards the end to answer any questions that come in, and we may be live answering them if we can throughout. So we really hope that you find today's presentation really informative and helpful. At the end, we're also going to select a random winner for a $101 Amazon gift card. So I encourage you throughout all of this valuable information that we have, stay with us till the end to see if you are the winner. Now, if you don't know us at Class 101, welcome. We are a college planning company who's been helping families like yours for almost 27 years. Our mission is to empower students, to serve families, and to inspire greatness through the college admissions process. Our team of very dedicated college advisors are here to provide personalized support and expert guidance throughout this process. So, like I said, whether you are a high school freshman just starting to explore some college options, or you're a senior and you are finalizing applications, Class 101 is here for you to help you navigate the road ahead. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a couple of important things. We're going to talk about who we are at Class 101 and how we support students in their college planning journey. We're also going to talk a lot tonight about the importance of goal setting. We're going to learn why setting clear goals is really essential for success, both academically and success in college planning. And we're going to leave you with some great takeaways and tips about what each grade can do this year to make sure that you stay on track. There's so much more to come. So again, we hope this is a valuable use of your time today. So I mentioned goals. Let's kick it off there. So take a look at this. So grow goals, grow what matters one step at a time, little by little, your steps will add up. What I love about this quote is that it really beautifully reflects the essence of our approach to college planning. It emphasizes the importance of focusing on what truly matters and taking just these small gradual steps towards achieving your goals. Goal setting, as you guys know, it's really an integral part of your college planning journey. And we want to ensure that you have a clear roadmap for success and well-defined goals. So let's dive into some essential points to consider when you start to set those college planning goals for this year. So like I said, I'm Carissa Finley. I'm the brand president of Class 101. I'm joined tonight by two fantastic speakers. So joining us is Laura Mangia. She is the owner of Class 101 in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm also joined tonight with Jennifer Donahue, who is the owner of Class 101 in Fort Mill, South Carolina. So speaking of Jen, I want to throw it over to Jen to kick us off.
Thanks, Carissa. So I'm going to start talking about freshman year goals. And if you're anything like me, you're thinking, why am I talking about college? I have a freshman. They barely just got out of middle school. But I felt the exact same way that you did when my son sat down with his 8th grade counselor to pick his 9th grade classes. And then I blinked and now he's a high school graduate. So trust me, you definitely want to start early, because freshman year is a crucial year for setting a solid foundation. And I'm going to tell you how early engagement can truly be a game changer. So first, we're going to talk about the goals that you should be hitting for freshman year. The first one would be GPA goals. Students are starting pretty much with a blank slate. They may have a few credits from gifted classes in 8th grade, but for the most part, they're starting with a blank slate, and that's amazing. So you definitely want to create GPA goals that are challenging yet achievable for your students. Remember that a great GPA in your senior year is going to help open a lot of doors for colleges later on. Read to succeed. So utilize reading software and online resources that are going to help you with your comprehension skills, and just practice reading, get that reading word speed up to about 350 words per minute. That's what colleges are expecting. Starting now as a freshman will keep that stamina going, and it will keep you on track to read what you need to read in college. Start your college list now. I know it seems very early, and right now we're just talking about the basics. Decide which types of colleges you want to start thinking about, which ones have your interests and align with your objectives. Research their programs, okay? Think about their campus culture, think about their admission requirements. The earlier you get a jump start, the better you can prepare to be in a great position when it is time to apply later on. But have that initial list of schools ready to go. Then the big one that I push with my freshman, last year I had a freshman, I definitely encouraged her to join clubs. Volunteering and joining clubs now is critical. You want students to be very well-rounded. So we want to make sure we're volunteering with outside organizations and also finding clubs. A lot of people ask, well, what if they don't have a club that I like? Start one. Find a faculty member that you like and trust and ask them to help you start that club. That's a great way to show leadership. So once you've had those volunteer experiences and those clubs in freshman year, that's how you can start building your resume. Organize your activities into a comprehensive academic resume, a nice organized list. Put all of your activities, your achievements, your experiences together, and this is going to showcase all of what you've been doing. We want you to start as a freshman because it's going to be really hard to think about what you did 3 years ago when you're trying to do this during application season. So if you've hit all of those points, then you can start thinking about sophomore year. And speaking about sophomore year, this is a great time to take stock of what did you do in your freshman year and think back. What were my academic highlights? What clubs did I like? Were there clubs that I didn't like? Do I want to make a change? And how can I grow myself? I have 1 year under my belt. How can I make this next year better? Some goals that we're looking at for sophomores would be, number 1, take campus visits. Again, I'm talking about college campuses, and yes, it does seem very early, but we're talking about looking at local colleges. Stay near home. If you're going on a road trip anywhere, make a stop. We want you to just explore what you have around you to get a feel for the campus culture and the setting and the size. Start deciding what fits for you as a student. Okay. Do I like an urban setting or a suburban setting? Do I want to be near the beach or in the mountains? All of these can be decided with a quick visit as you are just exploring. So we are going from freshman year of just creating this initial list to sophomore year of actually stepping on a few campuses. This is also the time that you should be taking more challenging classes. Now you set those GPA goals in freshman year. So now it's time to take stock and see, can I stretch those goals a little bit more? Can I take honors classes? What about AP? What about dual enrollment in junior and senior year? Am I up for that challenge? We like to see students stretch themselves to the best of their ability. So take the most challenging classes you can without making it too difficult for yourself. Okay. What I also would say is this will also demonstrate your academic rigor on your on your high school transcripts that the colleges are looking at. Consider a separator. Create a separator by setting yourself apart from other students. This is where that volunteer and joining a club comes in. So if you've started a club, this will separate you from your peers. Find something that sparks your passion, okay? Something that is close to your heart that will allow you to show yourself off to your best ability, but also you will look great on your resume. Meet those GPA goals that you set. Make sure that you are turning in all of your homework, hitting all of your deadlines. Stay focused. Yes, you have a year of high school under your belt, but don't get too cocky, okay? Make sure that you are still working hard and keeping to those GPA goals, because we know it's so much easier to build on than to try to take a giant leap up if you've slipped backwards. Also, you know that this will help open more doors for college opportunities with a better GPA. And finally, this is a great time to start exploring majors. You're in high school. It's free right now. You want to explore all of the different electives that you can. If you have a club that you love that has a class that could go along with it, absolutely try to get into that. This is the time to decide, is this really for me or not? You may have a great idea and love the club you're in, but then if you take the class, it may not be as interesting. So this is the time to figure that out. And then you can get on a career path. A lot of colleges will like to see that you are taking courses that will align with the major that you choose. And a lot of high schools have career path majors where you can get a cord or a seal on your diploma. It's a great opportunity to start in those steps in sophomore year, rather than trying to double up and cram a lot of classes in later on. So those are a few things that you should be doing as a sophomore. Now I'm going to hand it over to Laura to talk about junior and senior year.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am excited to talk about the key activities for juniors and seniors. But before I get started with the juniors, I want to take a minute to pause and put up a poll question about your kind of most challenging aspect that you feel. So you should see the poll question pop up. So yeah, what do you think will be the most challenging aspect for your student this year? I'll give you a couple minutes to answer that. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Looks like most everybody has answered the question. Fantastic. All right. So, yeah, so staying organized and on track, balancing academics with extracurriculars, that's definitely a challenge, 46%. Knowing where to start with their college list, those are good. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into junior year. This year, as juniors, you probably already know, this year is crucial. For many of you, it's your first leadership role. It's probably your toughest academic year. And really major steps toward college are made this year. My word for junior year is consistency. So as you near the end of your high school journey, yeah, staying consistent will help get you across that finish line. So let's dive into some key goals and actions for this year. So let's kick things off by asking, is a PSAT prep course worth your time? As many of you might know, last year, the PSAT transitioned to a digital format, and it's a whole new ballgame. It's completely different. So enrolling in a PSAT course could be your ticket to learning the new test structure, familiarizing yourself with the types of questions that will be asked, and getting comfortable with the digital tools that you'll encounter on test day. Plus, a prep course could help you boost your score to qualify for a National Merit Scholarship, which is an achievement that can open up some doors and some extra scholarship money, which that's always nice. Next, moving on to the bigger tests, the ACT and SAT. So these standardized tests can be game changers in your college admissions journey. So even though many colleges have adopted a test optional policy, at Class 101, we strongly advise juniors, which a lot of you on here are juniors, to take these exams. Here's why. So admissions policies can shift, and the last thing you want is to be caught off guard next summer, scrambling to take the test because one of your top schools reinstated their testing requirement. This happened to one of my seniors last year. I started working with her at the beginning of her senior year, and the family had already decided that the student was going to apply test optional. One of her top schools reinstated testing for that year, and she was left deciding, do I remove this college from my list, or do I take the test? Ultimately, she decided to take the test, and she scored high enough to gain acceptance to that college. But you don't want to be left with those options. So, but even if your chosen colleges remain test optional, a strong score can still give you a competitive edge and unlock some scholarship opportunities. It's also worth noting that these tests are evolving. So the SAT went digital last year, and the ACT has announced changes on the horizon starting as early as spring 2025. So at Class 101, we're here to keep you updated on these changes and arm you with strategies to excel on those tests. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest tasks ahead. This will probably take you all year. It's completing your college visits and finalizing your college list. Now, if you'll notice that going on campus visits has been mentioned a few times during this presentation already, so little hint, they might be a little important in your college planning journey. But what you're looking for on campus visit does change each year. So whenever you're going early in your high school career, you're getting a feel for the campus size and the location that fits you, like Jen stated earlier. Junior year, now you're looking at college campuses to see, could you see yourself on that campus? Does the school feel like home? And getting more detailed information about particular schools. So take your time to explore and research thoroughly. If you can't complete all your campus visits by the end of the school year, that's fine. Don't worry, just aim to finish as soon as possible. There's something irreplaceable about just walking around a campus and getting a feel for the place. You can't replicate that online. Last year, one of my juniors, she's now a senior, had told me at our first meeting that she knew where she wanted to attend college. It was the perfect college. It checked all of her boxes. And then fast forward a couple of months when she went to visit the college, and guess what happened? She hated the layout of the campus and where it was located. So if she wouldn't have gone on that college visit, she would have never have known, because on paper, it checked all of her boxes. So ultimately, your college list should align with both your academic goals and your personal aspirations. Okay, lastly, juniors, now it's time to look at your resume. The beginning of your junior year is the perfect time to ensure your resume shines. It highlights your accomplishments, your leadership roles, and your experiences. A polished resume can really make you stand out in the college application process. And if you feel like your resume could use a boost, junior year, it's not too late. It's still a great time to dive into some new activities and build up your profile. So remember, juniors, there's a lot on your plate this year, but by tackling things consistently, right? Your keyword is consistent. You'll be amazed at what all you'll accomplish. And these steps will set you up for a successful and stress-free senior year, as stress-free as it can be. Okay, speaking of seniors, okay, all of your hard work over the past 3 years has come to this moment. Application season officially kicked off 21 days ago. So let's discuss your important items. All right, so first things first, seniors. If you haven't already, it's time to set some clear communication expectations with your parents for the application season. Senior year is an emotional roller coaster, not just for you, but for your parents too. This is the first big step in letting go as you transition from being their baby to becoming a young adult. Remember, most communications from colleges will be sent directly to you, the student. You know your parents are going to be asking you about your applications, right? So why not create a plan with your parents on how to keep them in the loop? Maybe you schedule a weekly check-in every Sunday to update them on application statuses, decisions, and any action items that need attention. Trust me, setting this up now will save a lot of stress later. I say stress instead of keeping your parents off your back, maybe. Second, make a plan to submit your applications and stick to it. The college application process can feel sometimes like a jigsaw puzzle with so many pieces and deadlines to keep track of. Organization is your best friend here. So, juniors, your word was consistency. Seniors, yours is organization. So start by determining when you plan to submit your applications, whether it's early action, early decision, or regular decision. And then you work backward to set deadlines for each component of the application. So this includes when your main essay is going to be done, any supplemental essays that need to be written, your Common App questions, teacher recommendation letters, and more. A good rule of thumb, at Class 101, we aim to submit applications at least 7 to 10 days before the actual deadline. This gives some breathing room to follow up on any missing information. So get organized, execute your plan, and you'll go through application season with confidence. If you're still working on your ACT or SAT score, don't worry, right? Every point counts. Sometimes just one extra point on the ACT or an extra 10 to 20 points on the SAT can translate into thousands of dollars in merit scholarships. So know the cutoff dates for the schools you're applying to and keep taking those standardized tests until you've achieved the score you need. Remember, this could be the difference between a good scholarship and a great one. Okay, so next, plan to complete your financial aid form. So the FAFSA or CSS profile. You know the saying, the early bird gets the worm, and that's the case with financial aid as well. We strongly recommend all families to complete the required financial aid forms as early as possible to maximize your eligibility for aid. Now, some of you might be thinking we won't qualify for financial aid. That could be true, but keep in mind that colleges have different pots of money to award, and their thresholds for qualifications may vary. So don't leave any free money on the table. Get the forms in early. Okay, finally, so now you've done everything, you've stayed on track, you've stayed organized, you still got to stay organized. So finally, once you start receiving your offers, organization's still there, you'll need to carefully evaluate each college's total package. So this includes any admissions to honors programs, their start dates, and of course, the biggest, the net cost to attend. So remember, your final decision must be made by May 1st May 1st, right, next year, to secure a spot in the class of 2029. So this is the culmination of all of your hard work. So take your time and choose wisely. And you got this. Now I'll turn it back over to Carissa to discuss next steps and answer questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Laura. And thank you, Jennifer. What great information. I know that we've got some questions coming in. So please, as a reminder, jump into the Q&A and type those there. You may have seen some that have already gotten answered from Jen. We will also be giving away the winning $101 Amazon gift card right after this as well, too. So please stick around if you can. Jen, I did want to throw it to you because I just want to call out some of the answers that you have been providing in the Q&A, because we did get a great question about like GPA and like what year really counts the most for a GPA. Do you mind sharing the answer that you had typed?
Yes, so every year counts, it all accumulates, but the junior year GPA is the one that you submit to colleges. However, they will ask for a final transcript with your senior year grades as well. So we can't slack off in senior year. So it's important to stay on track all of the years, but it is the junior year GPA that you will apply with.
Great. Thanks so much. There were a couple other questions that I just want to call out. If you were wondering when the best time was to take the SAT and to start the college application process, Jen put some answers in there in the Q&A for you as well too. I wanted to ask you a question, Laura, like, when it comes to like staying organized, like we've just gone through a lot, right? Like any tips that you have for families and keeping all of these kind of goals and strategies and tips organized throughout the process?
So obviously there are a million different ways to stay organized. In today's digital world, I find really one of the best strategies is to have an Excel sheet where you keep track of the colleges that you've applied to, their deadlines for admissions, when their scholarship deadlines are. That way you can sort everything necessary. But I find really just a simple Excel sheet is one of the best ways to keep track of everything.
Yeah, that's great. I agree. And I will also plug a great way to stay organized is to work with a Class 101 college advisor. Because as you guys will, and Laura, maybe you can elaborate a little bit, like if you think about a junior that you're working with, how are you helping keep them on track, like especially junior year leading into senior year?
Right. So the great thing about the platform that we use here at Class 101 that enables us to view the colleges, view all their data, their information, and we're also able to list it in order of what the student thinks is, their top choice school and down. So then we can translate that over into correlating it between, okay, what test scores are you going to need because the data is there. And then as they're transitioning to senior year, we're keeping track of what essays are going to need, the deadlines, to help us plan as we go through junior year into senior year.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's such a good call out that like the college application process is so much different than a lot of us went through when we were going through college. And I'm sure that many parents don't even feel like they fully understand the landscape, yet alone provide any sort of like expert guidance to their student going through this. So that's where Class 101 really comes into play, is it really is experienced professionals across the nation that can help give you like really clear actionable goals and next steps. I wanted to ask, Jen, I know you had answered the question about being able to visit military academies. We had another question that came in about campus visits. It said, if a family is not able to set up an official school tour due to maybe time constraints, can they still just show up at the school and walk around campus? Like, what do you recommend in that case?
So yes and no. It depends if it's a closed campus or not. If it's not a closed campus, then absolutely. However, you really should check and see if that school has an admissions consideration of demonstrated interest, because if they do, then you do want to schedule a tour, because then you'll be on their list and it will show that you actually have visited the school. But absolutely, if there are time constraints, we definitely want you to get your feet on the ground and just get a feel for that school, because like Laura said, if you end up going on campus and your student absolutely does not like it, you would have saved yourself a lot of heartache.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Jen. Jen, while I have you, there was another question that says, does doing an internship between junior and senior year help, or is it a little too late at that point?
No, it absolutely will help. Because you still have time to put that into your application. You still have time to put that on your activities list. You can also say that you will be completing one throughout senior year at that point, but it helps if it was finished before you start your senior year. But that summer between is a great time to do any last minute internships or volunteering.
That's great. That's great. Laura, we had a couple of questions about the ACT or the SAT. So one of the questions that we had was, how many times can a student take the ACT or the SAT, and should they take both?
You can take the ACT or the SAT as many times as you want, technically. Your child may feel differently about taking it, as many times. However, you can take it several times. We have found on previous data showing that on the SAT, taking it more than 6 times can end up kind of resulting in a, doesn't increase anymore after 6. However, that's not the case for ACT. Students can take either and or, so either they can take ACT and SAT and ACT. I'm getting my acronyms mixed up here. You can take both, and that way you can determine which test you prefer, you like better. You might score higher on one compared to the other. Colleges will accept either test score. I know, years ago it was kind of like the East Coast schools wanted SAT and things like that. That's not the case anymore. They will accept either test score now.
Yeah, that's great. And I will mention, because this is a question as well too, it says, it asks, do we offer tutoring for ACT or SAT? Do you want to tell them, Laura, a little bit about what our test prep looks like?
Yes, so we offer test prep for ACT and SAT. The test prep, we utilize a test prep book and an online platform that helps students move forward. So our classes will provide a combination of strategies for that particular subject. So each week we cover a different subject, and they also take a subject-based test during class. They get to grade it and identify where their areas of strengths and weaknesses are, so they know what to work on in between meetings. So that is a brief overview of how we handle our test prep. It is typically, test prep sessions are 8 weeks or 6 weeks, depending on, depending on if you're doing ACT or SAT. There can also be some mini courses offered as well at different Class 101 locations. And I will say that we line them up to end before an ACT or SAT test, so that you can take your knowledge that you just learned and apply it directly to the test.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Laura. Hey, Jen, a question that came in is, what does a college resume look like? Because I think so many of us think resume and they're like, wait, a college, I need a resume as a high schooler. Can you tell us a little bit about what those resumes do look like?
Yes, it looks very similar to a job resume. However, we are highlighting your academic achievements as well as your volunteer activities and your outside of school activities, your extracurriculars. And so what it will look like is it will have your name and address and email, their student's name, address, email, same as what you would do for a job, but then it will go into which school are you going to, what is your GPA, what are your test scores. If you've taken both SAT and ACT, you can list those. You can list any AP or dual enrollment classes you've taken, and then any honors and achievements. along with clubs and organizations you are participating in. And if you have any work experience, if you have a job after school, you would list that as well. But it looks very similar. It just highlights all of your in-school academic and extracurricular activities.
Great, thank you. And then Laura, speaking of the resume, we had mentioned the idea of a separator. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that is?
Yes, so a separator can look a little bit different. Sometimes you might hear it referred to as a passion project, but it allows a student to really dive into some things that they're passionate about that can really provide, service to the community. It can, help raise awareness for certain causes around the community as well. Really, the biggest piece is that it is something that the student is passionate about. One of my students, she is a great artist, and she drew made handmade cards for graduation, thank you, birthday, and she sells those cards, and the proceeds from those funds go towards a local foundation here that helps foster kids. So that's one example of a separator project, or even having different drives to collect hygiene products, or back to school supplies for students. It could also be collecting blankets or towels to donate to animal shelters. So there are a variety of separators that can help a student stand apart, something that they've initiated and they created that helps to benefit others.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Jen, another question that came in is, do you recommend a particular aptitude test to help determine major or career path?
So we like to use the DISC assessment for our students here. But some other options that I have also used are the ONET, which is it's a free online resource that will do an interest survey, and it will show you some career paths that you could take that align with your interests. I would generally use those a little bit later, sophomore year, and DISC is end of sophomore into junior year. But the ONET is a great online free resource to look at different career paths that align with interests.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I agree. I love that assessment. Laura, I think you had talked about this just briefly, but when it comes to scholarships, are SAT and ACT scores required when applying, like for the scholarships?
That's a great question. And I always kind of say, a lot of times with college applications and admissions and different things, the answer is it depends. It depends on the school. So there are colleges, universities that applying to different scholarships, they are going to require a certain ACT or SAT test score, or for automatic. So for automatic scholarships, there could be different thresholds depending on GPA and test scores there as well, but not every college does require it. There are scholarships out there at different colleges and universities that you don't have to submit test scores. Maybe you're submitting an essay of answering a prompt, something like that. But typically you will get more money with your test scores. Typically, again, not always. It depends.
Thank you. And then, Jen, what's the typical deadline? I know you're working on this answer right now too. So what's the typical deadline for early applications and acceptance?
So the earliest that I've seen was Auburn at September 15th, but a lot of them are November 1st, November 15th. A few are earlier. Our local ones here in South Carolina, Clemson and University of South Carolina, are October 15th. So those are usually the deadlines we aim for. And then, so you're looking at mid-September, which is extremely early, but generally mid-October or early to mid-November are the early action deadlines that I've seen.
Great. And that's right around the corner, right?
Yes.
It will be here before you know it. And we just got another question, speaking of, so Jen, I'll let you answer this one too. Do you have an advantage of getting accepted if you apply earlier than other students?
Sometimes, yes, but the advantage of applying earlier is that If you are not as strong, you can get a deferral to help strengthen, and you can strengthen your resume and your GPA and send in a mid-year transcript. But schools do tend to like to see who they can accept earlier. And so it is to most students' advantage to apply early if possible.
Great, thank you. And Laura, I'm sure you can relate to this question with the juniors that you've worked with, but it says, I'm a junior who's overwhelmed sometimes. So how do I manage my time wisely and continue to get good grades?
Yes, that can seem like the challenge is just unattainable challenge, but it is attainable. So for one, give yourself grace. You need time to relax. However, whenever you are thinking about your day, if you're using a calendar, if you like to write things down on paper, or if you like a digital, using your phone for a calendar, but really thinking about your day and planning out very wisely. I know that I have math homework that's due on this day, so I'm going to complete my math homework. It should take me an hour to complete my math homework. So really being intentional on setting aside time. And I would say, I know for me, I can be a procrastinator sometimes. So if I don't have it on my calendar, I will procrastinate it. So setting aside time, making sure that you're studying for your classes and putting in that you should set aside time to study for ACT or SAT, do some work there, 30 minutes a day, working on test prep and spending about 30 minutes, maybe, or 30 minutes to an hour a week reviewing colleges, looking into different programs, will help you set you up for success. And again, it's just that consistency piece of it that's really going to pay off. It can find a little challenging to get started at first, but the more that you try it and give yourself grace, because you're going to make some mistakes as you go along, and you learn from your mistakes, and then you continue moving forward. So yes, figure out which method works best for you and just, trial and error and keep moving forward.
Great. Yeah, that's great advice. I could not agree more. There's two more questions left, Jen, and they're both related to scholarships. And I think really kind of like the general takeaway is like, how do I find scholarships and like the ones that, I should apply for that are a good fit for me, whether or not I'm the dependent of a veteran or by, any a wide array of things.
So I would always begin with my school's guidance department. A lot of times that they will have great scholarship resources. And after that, then I would look at my state scholarships. I would go small to large. So I would start with my school level, go to town level, state level, and then national level, because the smaller the area, the more likely you are to get a scholarship. There are a lot of different veteran dependent scholarships, but it really does depend on the state. So you definitely have to look into your state requirements for veteran dependents, but you can start with your guidance department at the high school. A lot of them will have resources on their website, or they'll have a list for you. If they don't, then I would do a search of, I wouldn't necessarily go directly to the scholarships.com site, but I would do a search for whatever state you're in and scholarships for that state. They have some great resources to find more local scholarships that are tailored to whatever situation you are in. But the veterans, definitely, it depends on which state you are going to, which school sometimes you're going to.
That's great. That's great. Yes, thank you. Okay, those were a lot of questions and they were really great questions. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Jen, for taking the time to answer those. I did want to go ahead and before we wrap up, share the winner, shall we, of our $101 Amazon gift card. So I hope you guys were able to still stick around. Drum roll, please. Our winner is Gregory from Weston, Texas. So thank you for joining us to everyone. Gregory, we will be in touch to get you your $101 Amazon gift card. And really, as I hope that you found this information helpful. And we had a lot of great questions that came in. Jen and Laura gave us some really great, clear, actionable items to take away. We we have not just out, you've heard from Jen, who's in South Carolina, and Laura, who's in Kansas, but we're proud to have a presence really nationwide. We have over 65 locations across 28 states. So honestly, wherever you are, there's a Class 101 near you, ready to provide some expert college planning and some guidance and some support throughout this journey. So don't miss out on the valuable resources and personalized guidance that Class 101 has to offer. And I think that's really what makes Class 101 special, is it's like, this is a lot to work through. And it's a very personal process that you and your student are working through. And so we're really going to take you through that in a way that, really inspires greatness. So reach out to your local Class 101 team today. We are looking forward to partnering with you. And like we said from the very beginning, don't wait. Early engagement, we know, is a game changer. It is not uncommon for us to have juniors or seniors enter, and then our families very quickly sign up their freshman or sophomore because they see the value in starting this process early. So like Laura said, senior year is already a stressful enough time. So if you're someone in our poll, that 16% earlier who said you're a freshman or sophomore, this is the time to get started. Seniors, take a deep breath. There's still also time for you. Getting really clear on your goals and your next step is the best thing that you can take away from this call. So like this quote from Les Brown says, your goals are the roadmaps that guide you and show you what is possible. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I encourage you to reach out to the Class 101 location that's closest to you, or email us at info@class101.com. Our contact information is on the screen. Our great college advisors like Jen and Laura are always happy to help. So we appreciate you showing up. Thank you for your time. We hope this information was valuable. Bye.